Keith Feustle. And how has the job been so far? I mean, we're both kind of new here. We're filling in Frank Caruli's position, who did both positions, actually. I got to give him credit because that was a lot of work. How's the job been going so far?
It's been going, very smoothly. Frank was a great guy to follow. I've had plenty of experience doing morning line work down at Colonial Downs, and actually did a little bit right out of college when I started with a publication called the Racing Times. But no, been a smooth transition. Everybody in the press box been helping me out. But I think the racing is really good. It's kind of got my juices flowing a little bit more, seeing this good competitive racing. But on the other hand, it makes the morning line job that much even tougher. We've had some great outfits coming in here, and but I'm having to do my homework quite a bit.
Go back a little bit in time and talk to us a little bit about how you first got into the industry itself.
It's kind of a family thing. My grandfather on my mother's side, he was a jockey back in the 30s. His name was Cecil Kaufman, and when he retired from racing, he was an exercise rider for a while. He used to, get on Native Dancer over at Sagamore Farm, and he also would work in the mutual department. And he was the mutual clerk for all the press boxes around the Maryland tracks. Bowie, I remember going to visit him at Bowie, here at Laurel, Pimlico. And I just kind of got the racing bug. I have four other siblings. We used to go as a family to the track. I loved going to the state fair at Timonium. That was our biggest thrill. And just running around, picking up tickets and starting to bet the horses at a young age and have my dad go make some bets for me. But I was the only one of the family that caught the racing bug. And when I was 14, 15, I really kind of started hanging around the press boxes, coming visit my grandfather and learning the ropes. And, I pretty much knew how to read a racing form by the time I was 12 or 13, and really enjoyed handicapping, and it just stayed with me.
What was your first racing job?
First racing job was with a small paper called Figs Forum. They came out in the late 80s, early 90s. I want to get my dates correct. And Marty McGee, who used to write for the Baltimore Sun, who's now at the Daily Racing Forum, was offered to do the job, and he just didn't have the time. I was in my last year at Towson State, well, now Towson University, back in '89. He said, "Hey, Keith, would you want to do this?" I said, "Hey, great." I was able to work it out. I got 6 credits out of it. It felt like I was stealing, the last semester of classes there at Towson, and it just kind of that rolled into another job with the Racing Times. Figs Form didn't last long. Went to the Racing Times and covered the New Jersey circuit. I covered Meadowlands, Monmouth, and Garden State. It was a great paper. I love the paper. Steve Chris was the editor. Had some great writers, Dale Austin, some other guys you still see with the Daily Racing Forum now. But unfortunately, that was short-lived. Was able to come back after a brief stint doing some PR work up in New Jersey. We got a call from Victor Espinosa, who was leaving the Equibase position here in Maryland to go down to Kentucky. And I've been here ever since like 91, 92. Been back home.
Now, we're not going to have you around in these neck of the woods for Breeders' Cup. Talk a little bit about what you're going to do during that weekend.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was asked a couple of years ago from the Equibase higher ups, Chuck Scaravelli, to come help out with the Derby, and it kind of led into the Breeders' Cup. So I went down and covered my first Breeders' Cup with the guys, I guess 2 or 3 years ago at Churchill, and last year out at Santa Anita, and this year going back. So I'll be helping doing the charts. We've got a crew of about 5 or 6 people that will be out there, the normal 2 chart callers from California, from Southern California, myself, Chuck Scaravelli, Tom Rentz, and Therese Norton, one of our West Coast supervisors, will be out there, and I'll just be doing notes, watching races, and we just kind of a group effort helping everybody out. They do have the new tracker system out there. It's not always perfect. But we have do backup calls of each race, chart calls of each race, and I'll help with a lot of the notes, all of the trip notes.
Now, I was actually wondering this question myself when I was going back doing my handicapping for this week and reading some of the chart notes.
Mm-hmm.
How can you actually watch every single horse in the race and get it in time to send to Equibase? With very minimal time. Right. You can't go back and watch replays and things like that, can you?
We do. I mean, Bill, my partner, Bill Braswell, he's a great chart caller, one of the best out there. I think we work together great as a team. We're very efficient. But through the years of experience, you learn how to watch a race closely. Your normal bettor, handicapper, they're going to stick on the horse that they bet. I mean, we're glazing through the field as we're making that chart call. Our eyes are still going front to back to middle and kind of seeing anything that could have gone on during the race, a horse steadying, checked, caught up in traffic. And then we'll go back after we call the chart. Whoever calls the chart will go back and watch the rerun once or twice, catch the pan shot and the head on shot, and then process that information, write up a good note while the other one's taking in all the mutual information, get the photo finish information. We can get it out with usually about 8 or 10 minutes to spare to the next race. But it is a challenge, and especially here now, with the bigger fields on the turf.
Last but not least, your duties here. You have a lot of duties here. You have Equibase chart caller, your morning line odds maker, and you do the handicapping show twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say that your experience, I guess, with chart calling benefits you from a handicapping perspective?
Well, it certainly helps me here. Once I see the horses, and we're back at this meet. Unfortunately, we're coming off of a break, but once we settle in after a couple months, it certainly helps because the trip notes I remember from calling the charts, and I can glance down and look and getting to know each race, the conditions of the races. I've got a better feel. If I've got a handicap races where the majority of horses are shippers, then I've got to go back, look at the formulator, go back and watch video and try to pick up my own notes because some guys don't pick up everything. So I like to be a little bit more sure about things if I'm going to say it about a horse's certain trip. So it's easier now once we get in the flow. Definitely by the middle of the winter into the spring, it'll be a little bit easier.
Well, there you have it. The behind the scenes here with Keith Feustle, the new morning line odds maker, taking over for Frank Carulli here at Laurel Park. But he also does the Equibase chart calling and the handicapping in the morning. So a lot of duties here at Laurel Park and soon to come Pimlico in the spring. So we're looking forward to having Keith around, and we're glad that he's here. Thank you for joining me today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.